Hi, I'm here to help you with Mr. Brown's question 35 homework assignment. So first off, we start off with a situation like this, where right here we have an initial speed of 1,700, and there we have an angle. I placed in these right here for you. So Vx, and that's Vy. And problem A asks you to solve total displacement, which is all that. So what do we do first? Well, what I did, I first started off by cutting it in half. And right there what we have is like all the givens. I put right here VYF, which obviously is 0 because it reaches the peak, which is Y stops, or it ceases to increase in its velocity. So then, first thing to do is to find Vx and Vy. So I started off with this equation. I plugged it in. I used this, but I kind of kept the 3 sig figs just to keep track, and this also has 3 sig figs, equaling this, keeping the note of the 3 sig figs. Then I found Vy using this equation, 3 sig figs once again, getting this 3 sig figs. Now what we do is to find time. So right here we have an equation from the book that says VF VI plus A times time. So I rearranged it so that it can solve time, and since we do have, VYF as a final, then we can use this, which is VY. We can use this as an initial. So initial, final, and we just plug that in. So it's 0, this number, 3 sig figs counting, and acceleration, which is also 3 sig figs. We get a time right here, counting 3 sig figs. So what do we do next after that? Well, we find the peak. Well, we don't really have to, it's not necessary, but we will have to use it later for the next half. Okay, sorry for that, but battery died. So to find maximum height, which is basically this, all that, we need to use this equation from the book as well. And it originally says delta x, but I replaced it with y. So same thing, use the initial, where am I? Right here, the initial, just that. Plug it in right there. Use the final, which is 0. Plug it in here, and all that times time. So plug it in. Oh yeah, and time, basically what we got. So plug it in. Should get an answer this big. So when you do get it's like 98933.71457, I did scientific notation, keeping track, of course, of the 3 sig figs that I had previously. So it should be 9.89 times 10 to the 4 meters. Now what do we do? Well, we find x, and this is not all x. This is not this x that we're just finding this x, half of it, or the other side. So I use this simple equation, rearranged it to solve for delta x, plug it in, keeping track of 3 sig figs, getting an answer this big. And what I like to do is bring it down to size. I kept the 5, you'll see later why, but for now that's my answer, and I keep track 3 sig figs over the 8. So first part is done. Now for the second part, which is this, the other side. So the VYF, keeping track, now we have Y, delta Y, VY, VX, and delta X. So this is basically what we have. And I seem to forgot to keep track. Okay, so knowing that we don't have these, and that's not a 7, that's a question mark, sorry about that. So we don't know delta X and we don't know delta time. So what we have to do is first solve with A. Normally we know what to do here. This is like the simple equations we have received previously. So we find delta Y using this equation. Because delta Y is it's in this equation, we can now use it in this formula and just replace it or substitute it, getting that. Make sure it's a negative, because now we're going in the negative direction, we're going down. And sorry, what we get, oops, is that big number. I brought it down there, 3 sig figs once again. Now we do is find delta X. This simple equation once again, rearrange it for delta X, and that's what we should get for substitution. Quick reminder, doesn't that and that look sort of familiar? Maybe we can jump into conclusions, but let's see what happens. So delta X gets that big number, shrink it down. So what I see here is 1.385 times 10 to the 5th, and back here that's exactly the same number I got last time. So well, now what? Well, we just add both delta X together, both of them, and adding it up, and you can use it on the calculator. I don't really care how you add it up, but it all adds up to be 2.77 times 10 to the 5th meters. And part B says solve for time. Well, we have the 2 times already, just add them together. So that time plus that time should equal that. But since we have 3 sig figs, just bring it down to 284 seconds. It's delta time. Well done.